Audio check. Sync is good. Okay, we'll get started in just a second here. Let's go ahead and get this link up. Sound is good. I think anyway, hopefully. Okay, so we're going to get started on repairing a MacBook or two. So first off, something very unfortunate happened this morning. The local UPS hub burned to the ground, and most likely people's laptops have been lost in that. None of our outgoings, but some incomings, so that's something out of my control. And there's not much I could really do about that at this time, which sucks. So yeah, I mean, what can I do? I have no control over a building burning down, but it is what it is. So the first one on the list that we're going to look at today is a 2020 A2289 that has no backlight after liquid damage, and it's really quite easy to see why this has no backlight after liquid damage. So let's go ahead and get the microscope view on, and it is going to be stubborn. So let's go ahead and get this on, rebooted. So there we go. Okay, so I mean, this board, when I first looked at it, it's like, okay, we have some liquid near our backlight capacitors here, but that doesn't look too terrible. You know, carrying on, everything else is clean. The customer reported they've been using it on an external monitor for a while with no issues. Little corrosion there, minor again, right there, minor, you know, nothing major. Let's flip it over. All right, capacitor, little corroded. No, nothing like overly jumps out at you, right? It looks pretty decent, you know. And then, oh, wonder what this stuff does. That looks pretty bad, doesn't it? Anyway, this is our backlight circuit. Here's our backlight capacitors, backlight output capacitors right here. Here's our backlight driver. These are our ROMs for our Wi-Fi IC. It's very important that we do not disrupt those. Those are incredibly important. So we're not going to touch those. This is all pertaining to the backlight circuit. Here's the backlight driver. But yeah, this has seen better days, and the customer did lie. I asked if they spilled water on it, and this is not water. This is something else. So yeah, that is not water. This is sugary something. So don't lie when you're asked what you spilled on your laptop, because it does matter sometimes. Or was this a liquid damage indicator? I can't tell what it is. It's so corroded. Anyway, this is what happens when you keep using your laptop after you spill liquid on it. Anyway, first things first is we need to wipe this. So what we are going to do is load this up with flux, like so. MTech NC559V2 from mtechdirect.com. Anyway, let's get our hot air on and our iron on, and let's get this stuff off of here. So I know all of those have to go. So what we're going to do is now scrub this. I want to just clean this up with a little alcohol and a toothbrush, because some of that stuff may not have to go. Yes, it was a millipoliflux. Indeed, that was a millipoliflux. Briz is here. Now you may ask, why don't I see this first? Well, I don't want to remove any hints of damage. I know there's damage here, so I'm fine with removing my hints in this particular area. But in case there's some weird issue with the board in testing, or something doesn't work, I want those hints to be there so I could find them. There's that. And you're going to notice now this is going to look a lot less terrible compared to what it did. I mean, this is substantially better looking than what it looked like prior. So there's still a few things that I want to get rid of, like those capacitors and these ROMs. I'm probably going to want to pull those off and resolder them. I don't want to disturb our Wi-Fi IC, but these ROMs I probably want to resolder. And then looks like this guy definitely has to go, because you see the top of the resistor is just destroyed. I don't trust this capacitor. All those guys can stay. This resistor here, I don't trust either. So there's that. This one here's, that one I could resolder. That one doesn't look too bad. This has definitely got to go. These guys have to go. These guys have to go. Okay, before I do anything more, I'm going to start rebuilding this. So, more flux. I want to clean all of these pads up. I'm just going to get my iron with a big ball of leaded solder. Get all that lead-free solder up there, then I'm going to wick. So we're at 740 on our iron. I just want to make an alloy a little bit just so it's easier for me to remove all that nasty lead-free solder. Like that. So. And now I could go ahead and wick. Travis is here. That's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and add solder to all my pads now. We don't need too much on these. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to go get a donor and start adding these back on there. So let's hunt down a 2289 donor. Should be fairly easy. This is a pretty common board that we see here, so we usually have quite a few donors here. And sure enough, first board I grabbed out of my pile was the correct board. So I'm going to start by putting these capacitors back. And I don't like this donor board. This donor board looks like it was liquid damaged in that same exact area. So I'm going to grab a different one that does not have liquid damage in that same exact area. This one looks good. Now these aren't fully soldered, I'm kind of just getting them tacked down, and then I'll flow them into place. I guess that might not have been the best idea with the high airflow, but these will go into place just fine. I just want them to kind of stick down there, and then after they're in place somewhat, I'll come back and flow them fully into place. Like so. More flux, and wow, I only have 8 viewers. That's pretty unusual for streaming at this time. YouTube must not be pushing notifications. Just like that. And now, let me see, there's a couple of resistors that I need to put a little bit of solder on. Alright, that one I'm going to replace because I do see some damage to the end cap, and anytime there's damage to the end cap, I will replace resistors. This one is just fine. So that one's got to go. Anywhere else? Nope, these all look pretty good. These caps look fine right here. Looks like that resistor is stolen off my donor, so we will come back for it. the meantime, I'll just get these caps on. Just like that. And we have some little guys here. These little ones really don't matter, but we're going to put them back. That resistor matters, but yeah, like these. The board would be just fine without these. So there's that. We need a couple around our backlight driver. Let me get a different donor now. Overall, this looks much better than when we started already. So there's that. I just need to do my driver, and I think we have two other little capacitors, and then we could work on the other side. And I have not decided if I want to ultrasonic this before turning it on or ultrasonic it after. Yeah, there's one more capacitor here. Let me get this out of here. And at the same time right here, I'm going to resolder this ROM. I don't want to use too much heat here. Let's see. It's fine. Does not need to be resoldered. That one I could see the pins on. Let me just lift it up. It's fine as well. Just want to make sure that the pins are intact on it, that's all. I don't like this. Yeah, I'm gonna put a little solder on this guy. This is the Bluetooth ROM. He sounded a little like Bob Ross. We're gonna grab these little guys right over here. I am tired and stressed beyond belief, so that probably is why I sound like that. Usually, I stream to relieve stress. Streaming is kind of therapeutic. That, we have one little capacitor. right here near our Wi-Fi ROM. There's that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. These two capacitors I'm not even going to worry about. I don't want to put more heat on that ROM right there, so I'm not going to worry about those two caps right there. They're non-critical. They're absolutely not critical, and I could care less about them. There's this. Time for a chip. Gonna pull that from our donor board. A little more flux. That is soldered. Make sure there's no signs of floating near our Wi-Fi IC, and there's not. Just double check my alignment on that chip, and it's off just slightly. So I'm going to give it a little nudge. Just a little tiny nudge. There. Was there a resistor right here? Yes, there was. So, nothing right here looks overly bad. Like, nothing right here looks concerning that's not going to get taken care of in ultrasonic cleaning. Same goes for right here. So, I'm going to leave this alone. And what we're going to do, we're going to dunk this in the ultrasonic cleaner, and we're going to come back to a beautiful board. So, I want you guys to see this. So, this is what all this looks like. I mean, it looks pretty bad. We're going to dunk this in the ultrasonic for 3 minutes aside. And it's going to come out really, really, really nice. So I'm going to go do that now. Just so those people in chat know, there will be static. That's normal. That happens every single time there's ultrasonic. So I don't want to see any comments complaining about static. Get this heatsink off. Ultrasonic is at 67 Celsius. We like to run around 65 to 70 for 3 minutes aside. And then while that is waiting, I'm going to clean my desk off. Because my desk is filthy with flux and burned capacitors and components. Okay. And we are just going to let that go. Let's see. Do I have anything immediately that we can look at while we're waiting? I don't think so. We're going to wait for that. Actually, we can look at this enclosure for this machine. No, 1 minute aside. No, I don't do 1 minute aside. Yeah, no, I don't like that idea. What mat are you using? This is some like cheap silicone mat, the largest one I could find on Amazon. Well, it wasn't the largest one, I guess, but it's a larger one. Nothing special. Cheap mat, that's all. So, a little corrosion there, not bad. Just clean this up. And that's it. I don't want the new capacitors to be sitting in corrosion like that, so it's always best to clean it up. And let's actually peel this up. Can we peel this up? It's a little sticker here. I just want to make sure there's nothing of surprise lurking underneath that we need to take care of. And if I can't pull this up without ripping the keyboard backlight, I'm not going to do it. But I should be able to. Okay. So there's a little flex under there, but it looks nice and clean. It looks like the sticker did its job as far as protecting it goes. That's actually the mic array, it looks like. So yeah, should be good. Touch bar area. Oops. Good thing it's a silicone mat, not bench. Looks all right. I might have got hit right here. I don't like messing with these touch bar components because they are underfilled. And, you know, as you guys know, underfilled components don't really fare well to you messing with them. So take in mind, anytime you do remove these shields on touch bar, this can very well, you know, ruin the touch bar if you're not careful. So if we have touch bar symptoms, I'll definitely pull that. But with the absence of touch bar symptoms, I am not going to mess with that, because I don't want to create more work on myself. Going to flip our board. On really heavily damaged boards, so that, you know, you can do that, but I don't like to, you know, flip the board a bunch of times. It's really not necessary. Touch bar connectors look good. No issues seen there. Our LDIs for our battery area, where are they? I don't see any here. But it doesn't look too bad. We have a little bit on our fan right here. Again, I don't care about that. Connector looks good. Audio board looks good. And that's pretty much it until we're done there. Borders in the ultrasonic. One minute to go on the ultrasonic. Then we dry the board off. I want it to go fast, so I'm going to dry it with my hot air. Then I'm going to air compressor it. Then I'm going to throw it in the oven for a couple minutes. So I know you guys are getting bored, but gotta wait. Can't make the ultrasonic go faster, unfortunately. So it's at 1 minute. So what we do is after it's done in the ultrasonic, we put it in another ultrasonic cleaner with just plain distilled water. Turn that cleaner on for like 10 seconds. And then I'll spray it without, we don't usually spray it with alcohol, we dry it with the air compressor, but I want to spray it with alcohol this time just so it dries quicker because this is what always happens when I'm streaming. Okay, as you can see this, my mic snags on my chair and it pulls it off my head. So yeah, that's what happens. You guys get to see it firsthand now. Anyway. Get this out of here. It's going to go in the other ultrasonic to clean the dirty water off. And then I'm going to spray this off with alcohol just so it dries quicker. And again, my microphone snagged again. I don't know if you guys caught that, but yeah, that is the joys of streaming. So hopefully someone got a laugh at that, but oh well. So our board is out of the cleaner. We are going to dry it now. So it's full of alcohol. I don't want to put heat on the CPU side, so we're going to start at this side, and I'm just from a distance going to dry this board off. And you're going to see it slowly get cleaned. Or slowly dry, I should say. No, I'm not putting my hot air directly on it. It's from a distance. I don't want, to put the board under full soldering heat all the time, or the whole time, so it's just from far away. Let's get the sticker peeled off so it doesn't melt and become really ugly. And here's what the area that we just worked on looks like now after the repair. So it looks a whole lot better than it did when we first started on this, so yeah. About this area looks good. There's probably a lot of water under that shield. Anyway, I'm going to go to the air compressor now and force any more water out. Let me do something with this mic wire before I end up breaking it. Do you worry about any water under chips? Yes, I do. That's why I am going to, well, I dried it with my hot air. Now I'm going to use my air compressor, and then it's going to go in the oven. And that will rid any water that we previously had on our board away. I mainly worry about under the CPU. Okay, now it goes in the oven. And now I'll grab another one. Let's see, what fun ones might we have for right now? What would make a good stream? That's what I'm trying to figure out. We could take this one. I see. Okay. All right. I just saw this now as I'm picking it up because a repair shop previously cleaned this. It's an A1706 that does not post. Now, an A1706 that does not post is usually a dead CPU. And I was just looking at this when I picked the board up and I realized, hey, this looks like it was corroded before. Look at that. That looks like old corrosion to me. That has been cleaned with a toothbrush. And there's flux here. There's corrosion there. Never mind. This one looks bad. So let's see if our CPU is getting power, because if our CPU is getting power, then this is probably going to suck, because most likely what happened is that chip got, the ISL V-core regulator got corroded, and yeah, that stopped the MOSFETs from switching and killed our CPU. So the amount of voltage on V-core will actually tell us what's going on with the board. So we're going to plug this in. No, that's not the SMC. That's going to be our CPU V-core regulator. Okay, so let me, well, one, our board is not even turning on now. Let's try it again. Okay. Let's let it stabilize a little bit. 0.86, 860, 870, 740 milliamps, 650 milliamps, 620, 440, 450, and static at, it's like, it's there. Okay, so system agent 0.7, 0.62. Okay, so this is actually turning on. If we have 0.6 on V-core, that means our board is posting. So this may just be a case of corrosion under stuff because a toothbrush and alcohol cleaning does not cut it. And if you're a repair shop, you shouldn't be doing that. I don't know what was going on here. Maybe some corroded resistors. Hopefully they didn't reflow this chip because that's underfilled. So alright, more signs of corrosion here. Here's another corroded resistor right here. Yeah, see, no post stuff can be just stuff like weird stuff like this. So my guess is this may be fine after touching up the corroded components. We're going to see. Is that anything over here? No. Right here. Yeah, this just like this to me seems like it's just going to be a case of random corrosion under a chip that's causing weird issues. So that's how post issues usually go. Little corrosion there, but it's minor, and the ultrasonic will take care of that. This is my main concern right here, is this chip right here. I don't like to just blindly replace these, especially if they're working. So I'm just going to flux it and give it a little heat and hope it works. This chip very, very seldomly dies. I don't think I've had a single case of these where this chip is dead. So I don't just replace these unless they're very obviously corroded or blown up or something like that. In which case, if it is blown up, the CPU is probably dead anyway. Our other board is done. So we'll swing back to this one. To the one that's in the oven, I mean. The one that we just fixed a minute ago. So that's taken care of. Anything suspicious here? No. Give me 1 second. I have a phone call. Okay, I'm back. So these capacitors here are for microphone, and I don't care about microphone for a post issue. I do care about those though, but I want to see if this even turns on now after we, resoldered a couple resistors. And I'm going to guess it will, and I'm going to guess it's going to be just fine, and then we can go back and replace those other things later. But I'm going to guess this is going to work just fine now. So, or I could be totally wrong and it's not going to work just fine. I don't know. We're gonna find out. So, touch bar connector will need a little work though. Not a big deal. I just want to see that this now posts, because that's what I'm here to fix. And what are you sitting on that you don't want to go down? Aha, magnet. So with post issues, I kind of want the basic screen, keyboard, and trackpad. I don't want anything else. We're going to see if this works. And if it doesn't work, then I don't really have the energy to troubleshoot a post issue right now. We're going to test our other one since it's done in the oven, and then it's almost time for me to leave work. So it's the end of the day. Why doesn't this want to plug in? Come on, little USB-C connector. There we go. Okay, so I'm getting trackpad click, which is a good sign on these because that means I do have brain. So the CPU is somewhat there. The T2 is the brain for the trackpad on other models, but this one, the trackpad, or the CPU is, so I do have somewhat brain, but nothing on our screen. Do I have... Alright, our touch bar is cracked. No caps lock light. Is this a backlight issue? Probably not. This is probably a brain dead. Yeah, okay. So this, honestly, given the fact the CPU is getting power, it's halfway in a post state, it's halfway not, it's hanging somewhere in the post sequence. Given the fact that the CPU vCore controller was corroded, this is probably a dead CPU. It's probably not worth wasting any more time on it because the most likely outcome is the CPU got a small spike at 12 volts and now it is dead. So that would be my guess to a diagnosis on this. And oh, okay, hello. It's back. It's in hibernate. So it's alive. And we don't have any caps lock light, but we do have image. So this is interesting to say the least. So maybe we have a keyboard issue as well. Could be a compound issue. I have to tonight, Peter. But if I did not have to for other reasons that I'm not going to talk about, then I would absolutely stay at work until late at night. So it's on, but it's stuck coming out of hibernate. So yeah, I'm just going to let it do what it wants to do right now. It shouldn't take this long to wake from hibernate, but we'll see. Keyboard may be toast. Yes, I agree. Okay. So I don't know what is going on, why it's just sitting here like this, but I don't like it. I'm going to connect the battery, and we're going to restart. So what you have to remember, with your battery disconnected, your CPU is very, very throttled. And that unfortunately can cause some issues there, especially in the new stuff. Older stuff, it's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter too much, but newer stuff, yeah, it can cause booting issues and other stuff. Plug this back in. Let's try a PRAM reset. Do you have an online class? No, we do not. If you want training, you can go to iPadRehab.com, and I will host courses with Jessa throughout the year. The earliest one is next month, May 16th through something. I don't know, something like that. But I will be flying to New York for that. But yeah, online classes, no. Online classes almost never work out. So this seems to be posting really, really slowly. I'm just going to keep the keys depressed. Well, took them off for a second. Nothing. Okay, and I just lost trackpad click, which means we lost brain. If we lose trackpad click, that's usually not good. That usually means we lost the brain. Keyboard and trackpad can block boot, but it usually presents differently. It usually okay, now I'm stuck at 5 volts and 0.24. Usually keyboard and trackpad won't stop it from booting fully. You'll have sensor issues, or it will not turn on at all. It usually won't hang boot. I mean, it's theoretically possible because it has SPI communication, but it's very, very unlikely. Okay, so now I have something we could actually troubleshoot, which is 5 volts and 0.23. That's most likely... Wait a second. Let's unplug the battery. Yeah, 5 volts again. Okay, so this is something now troubleshootable. But I want to just see if the other one works because I'm tired, as if you can't tell. So I'm going to move on to the other one and see if we have backlight on our other one. And then we'll swing back around to this one at a later time. Because I kind of want to clean up the store and possibly get out of here. So anyway, here's our board, which is now fully dry. Just going to clean our heatsink off, get some thermal paste on this. So that. Need our heatsink. Okay, let's have a look at this board. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to mute if I do sneeze. Much needed sneeze. Okay. Here's our board fully after ultrasonic. I guess you guys have already seen it. But, you know, I don't like cleaning with isopropanol because you tend to wash out flux from under the CPU and stuff just from manufacturing. But our original area that looked totally destroyed is now looking quite nice. We do have some probe point damage, but nothing critical, nothing that concerns me. And everything here looks really nice and functional. So, thermal paste time. Cleaned our heatsink off. I'm going to use the Shinichi stuff, which is the factory thermal paste that was originally applied to this board when it was at the Apple factory, which is okay stuff. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. It works good. It's a whole lot better than MX4 and a lot of those companies' stuff. And that's what it looks like. It's very thick, and it will thicken up even more after it gets hot. Has some nice coarse particles in it, which help fill the bigger gaps in the heatsink. And it works really nicely for devices with inaccurate heatsink gaps. There's that. Now I can switch back over to this. Do you have a group for technicians? No, I do not. You could check on Facebook. There's a lot on Facebook, but no, I do not, personally. I tend to stay away from other repair technicians, kind of, these days. Well, I shouldn't say that. I tend to stay away from the Facebook groups, except for, like, the MacBook Logic Board Repair group and a couple others. Like, Cell Phone Repair Shop Talk on Facebook is just absolutely cancerous, and, yeah. I don't participate in that nonsense. Okay. Let's grab our enclosure. I do want to check our USB-C port because these get corroded, and it takes 2 seconds to pull one out and have a look. So I always do that. It's clean. There's that. Keyboard. I want keyboard, trackpad, touch bar. USB, obviously. Screen, and we're gonna see if this works. So the customer said they have no backlight. When I got it, did flicker for a second, but I mean, with how the board looked, I mean, it's no doubt that it would flicker or do something like that. So we have 5 volts, 0.24. Okay, so I am having a suspicion now that my USB-C amp meter actually failed, because why do we still have 5 volts on this board? We shouldn't have 5 volts on this board. This board had 20 volts prior, unless there's something else wrong with it. Let's see. Because if you remember, we did have some corrosion near our CD3217s. Let's see. But I find that odd how the other one was 20 volts and then 5, now this one is the same. That makes me very suspicious that we have an issue with our USB-C amp meter or our charger. So let me try a different charger right here. And furthermore, I could actually grab a different MacBook and try with a different MacBook on our original charger. But let's just see here. Nope, nothing. That is very unusual. Okay. So now we're going to troubleshoot a no power issue. In addition to our previous no backlight issue, I want to make sure this is working. Let me grab a store MacBook. We should have Air 1932 somewhere right here. And let me just make sure that we actually have an issue with the MacBook, not just the charger. Okay, in the store MacBook, 20 volts, 0.03. Yeah, this is working. Okay, so it is something wrong there. It's not the charger. All right, so let's do this. I hate when this happens. Aha, okay. That did not take long to find at all, did it? Probe point. Probe points are pretty important. Yeah, probe points are very important, especially like this. And I don't know what this is for. I'm not even going to bother looking it up on the schematic. But what we can see is that we have this one I don't care about, but this one I care about. We have a trace that this probe point is connecting it. It goes to this resistor. It goes to this resistor, which, surprise, surprise, is right near one of the USB-C controllers. So what I'm going to do is just run a little jumper wire. Let's see, is there... Yeah, that goes into the board. Could see that clear break in the trace, and actually in two spots. There's a break in the trace in two spots there. So what I could actually just do, I don't even need a wire right here. I could just do this. Watch this. Let's see, can I do it? Can I get away without a wire? Sometimes you can get away with this, sometimes you can't. It really depends on the trace. It's actually really common in like RF applications to have solders bridging traces like this, big like this. And there we go. So there's that. Nice big blob of solder over it. Clean this flux up. And it looks like it just came off, or wasn't even on there in that spot. So let's try again. And I'm just going to run a wire. It was worth a shot, but I'm not going to mess with this anymore. We're just going to run a little wire. My 37 gauge right here, so I'm just going to use that because it's the first one that I grabbed. If I had the 27 or whatever, I would have used that, but this was the first one that my eye caught, so I'm going to use it. Just like so. Grab my wire. make this look a little bit pretty. We're done. Clean this up, a little bit of acetone. And now, let's see. Actually, before I forget about this. Before I forget that this even exists on this board. Oops, a little bit too much, but whatever. Okay. Fingerprint. You didn't see that. Do not copy my fingerprint. That might not have even been my fingerprint. I don't know. Now we'll see. What do we have? 20 volt, 0.8, 0.6. And this goes the reason why we don't just throw a board in the ultrasonic first bat after liquid damage, because if I just threw the board in the ultrasonic, I wouldn't have realized there was corrosion there, and I wouldn't have been able to find that fault that quick. Anyway, you see it as backlight now. We do have an Apple logo on the screen, and we did boot into an operating system, as you can see here. So this one is fixed. Extensive backlight repair. This customer is going to be happy because he was genuinely nice and needed this soon. This came in today. He's getting it back tomorrow. So here's another message. If you need your computer, be nice. You know, if you're nice, it's a lot easier to work with you. If you're mean, and if you're nice and polite, there's a chance your machine might just skip to the front of the queue. And if you're rude and mean and disrespectful, then there's a chance that it might not skip to the front of the queue. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next stream. So let's get out.